Good morning. I just wanted to check in with people and talk a little bit about the value of taking time to retreat. This is something that just became very clear to me yesterday because I actually took part of yesterday to do a retreat for myself. First off, to do a retreat for yourself, you really don't need to go anywhere. We're not all able to take a drive to the beach to go for a walk or to go into the woods to take a long hike. Those are great ways to retreat, but if it's not available to you, just consider taking the time to make space in your day for yourself. And that's what I did yesterday. I was thinking, should I go for a walk in the woods? And I thought, Lyme disease and ticks and, hey, Ivy, mwah! We have to get together. You have to tell me when I can come see you. I was talking about retreats and taking time for yourself. And I really appreciated the message. I think you probably know that because I wrote back to you. But one thing that I did the other day, I'm working on my marketing plan for my business. And it's been challenging when I came across two questions. One, what makes what you're offering different from what other people are offering? And two, what makes you special? Now, that's sort of paraphrasing the questions, but they sort of got to the core of my insecurities. And yesterday, I took this day for retreat to help address some of those insecurities. So, Ivy, the new moon is tomorrow, and it's a really good time for setting new intentions, for letting go of thoughts and feelings and ideas that aren't helping you grow, and for focusing in on your heart and the things that are in your dreams and bringing those into fruition. And of course, yesterday was the summer solstice, so it was a pretty special day. And like I said, I didn't go anywhere in particular for this retreat. I didn't want to go into the woods because I got Lyme disease a couple years ago, and I really don't want to get it again. And I didn't want to cover myself with DEET, and I didn't want to get all dressed up and put my pants in my socks and all the stuff you have to do to make sure you're protected or can see if ticks have gotten on you. So it was kind of interesting, too, because when I thought about going somewhere to go for a retreat, it didn't feel right. I felt like a disconnect in myself. I don't know if you've ever felt this, Ivy, but I felt in my head like, I should go do this. I should go for a walk. I should go in the woods. I should do a medicine walk. But I could feel that wasn't where the rest of me was at. And I knew that if I took a step in that direction, probably something discordant was going to happen for me. If I went out in the world in that space, that's the time when accidents happen because you're out of alignment with the bigger part of yourself. Your ego's like driving the ship, and you're out of alignment, and so your soul and your angels, whatever you call the spirits that are around you helping you, they throw something in your path to say, no, don't do this. So I was sitting out here on these steps thinking about where I was going to go. Oh, here comes one of the kitties. And as I was sitting here contemplating what I was going to do, I got a call from my husband, Jeff. He had just left to go spend the day with my brother buying fireworks for the 4th of July, which is going to be an incredible, incredible time. If any of you are in the area, we'd love to have you up at my parents' homestead. It's an incredible, we put on a fireworks display, and it's just a really good time. But so he was off in the car starting to head to Portland to meet up with my brother Rad, and I got a call from him, and he said, I'm hearing something really funny in the car. Actually, that's not why he called initially, but as we were talking, he said, I hear something really weird. So he pulled over, and I said, well, call me and let me know if the car's okay. So he called me back, and he said, well, I couldn't see anything. He said, but, the sound is really weird, so I'm just going to come back. Hi, Tenny, hi. Mwah. I'm going to come back and I'm going to just change the cars. I'll leave you with this van. We'll get it checked out, see what the noise is, and I'll take the other van. I said, okay, that's cool. I said, I'm going to go. And then I did actually venture out. I told him, I was like, well, I think I'm going to go for a retreat. I think I'm going to go for a hike somewhere. And he's like, oh, you got to cover yourself with DEET. And I'm like, oh, God, do I really want to do that? And the other thing I had to do is I had to go to the school to check on Phoenix's laptop. And so I said, okay, I said, listen, I'm going to go down to the school. I'm just going to check on this laptop thing. And why don't you meet me there? Because it's sort of on the way home. And I said, we can just exchange cars. Oops, sorry, that was the cat bumped the tripod. And so that's what we did. I went down to the middle school and came up against a roadblock there. And hey, January. And so meaning that what I thought, like I said, like that disconnect that was going on. So I couldn't get done what I thought I could get done there. And then I get another call from my husband, and he says, I couldn't even make it to the middle school. I'm in the elementary school parking lot, which is just like a quarter mile down the road. He said, my tire blew out. So I went and I met him there, and we were like, well, maybe we can fix the tire, and you can still get going to Portland. Well, what I didn't realize was that Jeff had sort of a similar feelings to the way I felt in the morning. He said he felt like, I don't really think I should go today. He didn't feel like he should actually make this trip. So anyway, I know this is probably a really long, boring story. I'm sorry. Maybe I can get to the significant part. So anyway, then we're like, okay, well, maybe we can get one of those inflators for the tire, and it'll just, and we're driving to the store to get it, and I'm like, honey, the way you described this thing happening, it sounds like it was a pretty catastrophic failure of this tire because it was sudden, the car shaked, and then you were done. It wasn't like a slow leak that these things work with. And he's like, yeah, maybe we should just go back to the house and get the tire and blah, 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 all this stuff. And we're like, well, we finally decided we'll go get the inflator because it's only $5 or whatever it is, and it could save us a lot of time. So we drive to the store, we get the inflator, and sure enough, it does nothing. Like he's spraying it in and nothing. We can't even see. So what's happening? The tire doesn't change. So at that point, we come back to the house because we know we need to get a tire that we have in the house, and we're going to need to, change it off the rim and et cetera, et cetera. So we get home. Oh, and even before all this, before I left to go to the middle school, I hadn't definitely decided not to go on this journey, but I was sort of leaning toward not going on this journey. And then I thought, well, you know what? I thought what I started this conversation with, that you don't need to go somewhere, right? If you are looking for guidance, if you're looking for guidance from your soul, from God, from Jesus, whatever, whoever you seek guidance from, your angels, your relatives, they're with you and they're available all the time. And they don't require you to go take a special walk on the beach or to go to a special spot to hike. Now, we have places that we do that. We have sacred places, and they're wonderful, but you don't have to go there, right? And that's what I thought. I thought there are people who are disabled. There are people who are just feeling ill or whatever. They can't get out. They're not excluded from having retreat days. They're not excluded from, having conversations with God, are they? No, of course they're not. So sitting here on the steps in the morning before I went to the middle school, I set my intention for the day. And I promised that I would be open to whatever appeared in my environment that I needed to know at this time for my spiritual journey and my growth. Okay, so that's like the thing that I should have told you a while ago. Anyway, so we got back to the house. Oh no, we're driving back to the house. And we're coming up Route 160, and we turn up, this is Triptown Road, and Triptown Road it's only about a half a mile from 160. Oh, thank you, Tenny. Mwah. So, and it winds up past a little pond. There's a whole series of ponds in this area that are all interconnected. And we're driving there, and there, right in the middle of the road, is this little painted turtle. And I know, probably you guys have seen a lot of turtles, but I have not seen many turtles in the road. I used to when I was a kid. I used to see them all the time. So I looked at that and I went, oh my gosh, a turtle. Wow. Okay. I'm paying attention to my environment. this is pretty interesting. So we stopped. We got out to get the turtle. There happened to be a car that had also come down to the beach side there, and it was a mom and her little girl. And I jumped out of the car and I said, "Did you see the turtle?" And the mom and the girl were like, "No." So they came over to look at the turtle. It was just a small one. It was about this big. And of course, as soon as Jeff picked the turtle up, it ducked inside. But the girl, she touched the shell, and I touched the shell, and then we got back in the car. When we put the turtle down, what you're supposed to do, whatever direction they're facing, move them further along that way. So Jeff actually, he apparently sees a lot of turtles. He said, "Oh yeah," he said they always cross from that side to this side. So he knew, and he took it down to the stream on the other side. And then we got in the car, and I was driving, and I said, "Wow, honey," I said, "I set this intention this morning, and that feels really significant." And I said, "And I'm also, working on a painting that's about the earth." And, the Native Americans associate the tortoise, that the tortoise supports, the turtle supports the earth, that it's actually, the earth is on the turtle's back. There's a lot of symbolism with turtle, and turtle had come into my awareness, actually, quite a while ago. So I got very teary, like just, how you get teary when something really hits home. So drove home, got here, parked the car. Jeff went inside to get some breakfast. And again, I was sitting out here, very magical little spot here on these steps, being open and aware and just being in my perception, right? That's a really, really key thing for people, is to be in their perception. So we can feel emotion, but you don't want to get tied to your emotion, especially, when it's like you're feeling angry or whatever. Ideally, you can see the emotion and feel it moving through you, but not get stuck in it. So I was sitting here listening to the birds and the crickets and the cars in the background, which you can hear, unfortunately, but there's a lot of nature that's more predominant. And I was saying, okay, wow, thank you for that turtle, and just I'm open. And what happens? Oh my God, this was absolutely magical. Tumbling down out of the sky, looked like a leaf was coming down and kind of going, but it wasn't a leaf. It was the wing of a butterfly. I was just blown away. Like, how does that happen? You never see a butterfly wing falling from the sky. At least I never do. So I went over and I picked up the wing, and it was the top left wing of a northern swallowtail, those yellow and black butterflies. Well, more to the backstory, which I didn't tell you from that morning. The first thing I did when I got up was I did a soul scribble, and I kind of dismissed it, which, I'm kind of embarrassed that I dismissed it. I did it, and I was like, oh, what the heck does that mean? So the soul scribble I had done that morning was of a wing, a single wing, but it was the right wing. So in the morning I'd gotten the right wing, and then I received the left wing from the heavens when I was sitting out here on the porch. What else can I tell you? The day continued. I let my ego go, meaning I didn't try to structure the day or channel the day or make it happen a certain way, and I decided to make myself available to what was going on. And what was going on was we were having this issue with the car. And usually Jeff, "Hi, Leslie, so nice to see you." I'm telling a really, really long story, and I hope I don't bore you. But it's about I'm speaking about taking retreat days, but not having to go anywhere to do those retreats. That spirit is available to you at all times, wherever you are. So yesterday was such a day for me. So I decided not to pick up what I was speaking about. I decided not to let ego control the day and say, "Oh, you have to be doing this," or "Your time is so valuable, you can't help your husband with the car." So I went back inside after finding this wing. I found a butterfly wing, Leslie. It tumbled out of the sky. It was amazing. Anyway, I went inside and my husband was making lunch, and I said, do you want uh, do you want me to help you out with the car? Would you like my company? And he said, yeah, that'd be great. So he finished eating lunch, and I did a few things, and we continued on the day. And it was just really interesting to be present and available to him, to the situation, and to just not be stuck in my head and my thoughts, and to just try to be really aware and in my perception. So it wasn't that it was a particularly exciting or special day, but in the fact that I was approaching it that way, it was. So then finally, at the end of the day, we got back, the car was all fixed, and I said, okay, now, in addition to the being aware and in my perception throughout the day, at the end of the day, I was feeling this calling that I really wanted to, I'm sorry, my eye is bothering me. I wanted to just take a little time and do some journal writing. And I had received some wonderful journal prompts from a woman that I've been working with. Hey, Stan! Mwah! Good to see you. I was just talking about taking personal retreat days and the value of that, and that you don't have to go anywhere to take that sort of time for yourself. So now I'm at the end of the day. It's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was a beautiful day like it is today. It was sunny and breezy and just enough clouds in the sky. Actually, there are no clouds really today. So yesterday there were some clouds, and it was just lovely, just a lovely day. And so I grabbed my blanket, and I grabbed my journal that I have, and I grabbed some crayons and a pencil, and my favorite little pointed Sharpie, the really sharp fine tip Sharpie marker. And my intention was, I thought, I'm just going to walk up into our field. I'm going to go to the very top of the field, and I'm going to sit there because my dear son Phoenix had just that morning mowed a lovely path up the hill, and at the top we have a little fire pit. So I thought, I'll just go sit up there. And as I was walking, I was like, wow, this place is really amazing. I mean, what a beautiful place we have. This is really a place where you can have a retreat. I was thinking, it'd be so nice to be able to share this with other people. And I get to the path that Phoenix has mowed, and I start walking up, and it goes in between our orchard, which has not been a very fruitful orchard, but it is lovely nonetheless. And it has young trees. They're maybe 13 years old now. And we have a peach tree, and we have a couple of cherry trees, and we have a couple of apple trees. We've never had any apples. One year we had about 40 peaches on this tiny little peach tree, and it was like, it was so tiny. It couldn't even hold up the peaches. It was amazing. We usually get cherries. So I was walking up in the field, and the path, you know how fields are so wonderful, right? You have this path, and then the grass is so tall on either side of you, and it's so alive. Thank you for the thumbs up. It's so alive with life. The bees are buzzing, and the dragonflies are around, and the crickets, just like, this huge, loud, thrumming cricket noise. And I was, I barely got 5 steps into this path, and I was overcome with the beauty of it. And I just slowed down my pace of walking, and I looked at the cherry tree and admired the cherries that were growing on it. And then I got to the next tree, and I thought, I thought I wanted to be in the full sun, but the shade of that tree looks really, really inviting. So I stepped off the path, and I laid down my blanket, and I sunk down in with the grass on either side of me and just got immersed in the sounds. And I took out my journal, and I started writing. And wrote for a while, and then I got to a point, Leslie, you may have experienced this, and Stan, if you've done introspective journal work, you too may have experienced this, where you get to a point where it's exhausting because you're diving into something, and sometimes you're diving into things that have been locked in place for a while, and things that you're stirring up and maybe trying to free and shake loose. So I had written a couple of pages, and I hit that point of, boy, I think I need to take a little break. But I turned the page, and I wrote imagination at the top of the next page, because the next journal prompt was about something to the effect of your imagination is a very powerful tool, or my imagination is very powerful. I choose to imagine myself and then to write how I'm imagining myself. And I just started a few lines, and a dragonfly came over and landed on my hand. And that was pretty cool. Dragonflies sometimes will land on people, but, you know, it doesn't happen too often to me. So again, being in my perception and trying to pay attention, I was like, okay, so here's a dragonfly. What's this all about? And the dragonfly, I figured, you know, it would stay for a little while. Well, the amazing thing was this dragonfly stayed for 20 minutes. Yes, it has. I'm glad you do journal. It is really helpful. So it stayed for 20 minutes. I kid you not. So it was on my hand. Then it would fly up, and I was a real attractor for bees, little bees. These little tiny. I don't know if you've seen them. They're like tiny, 1/4 of an inch bees. And they were buzzing around me, and they weren't bothering me, so I just let them do their buzzing. And but the dragonfly loved him, and he would go up, and they were like right by my ear, so he would flutter. Literally, his wings were hitting my hair and my ear, and he'd get the bee, and he'd come back and land on the journal, and then he'd munch on the little thing he'd eaten. So for 20 minutes he was there, and I just sat with him, and I sketched him when I could, when he wasn't on my hand. And it was just overall a very, very magical day. So, in summary, take time for yourself, for introspection, to give your ego a break, give your left brain a break, really. Give the logical mind a break, and just be open to the messages and the symbolism around you. And what else can I tell you? Oh, this is pretty amazing. Stan, you might want to tune in for this. So between now and January 5th, I'm going to be creating 13 paintings. Yeah, it's a lot of paintings. So basically a painting a day, and I'm going to start today, and I will be posting those here and also in the Soul Path Network. And Stan, if you're getting if you have like a little spark of fear or excitement, either one, about the painting, I think you should pursue it. And I can tell you, in fact, in the first post about the paintings, I'll give you a link or information about what colors to get. You really only need 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 or 6 colors. Ultimately, you really only need a blue, a yellow, and a red. Have you gotten the clay yet? I'm wondering. Oh, one more thing. So sometimes you make these soul scribbles. You know, you see a butterfly wing tumble, you get a mushroom, whatever it is. But sometimes the meaning is really clear. But it's not always, and it's okay if it's not. That's something that I have had to come to terms with, because I don't always know what these things are telling me. But I'm trusting that it's a pathway for communication, and that the meaning will either become known to me at some time, or you know, I'll have an aha, or I will maybe see something that reminds me of that. Like yesterday morning when I had that single wing, and I was like, what the heck? Come on, a single wing? What are you doing? What are you telling me? Oh, good. Oh, good. Yeah, I do get some. Do pick up that clay. I actually want to get some clay. I'd like to get my hands in clay. And what was I saying? Oh, and so then later in the day when I just stayed open and kept my perceptions open, what comes to me but this butterfly wing comes falling out of the sky for me. So stick with it. It's a process, and it's really valuable to stay in touch with yourself and have that communication open. Okay. Thank you for joining me. Nice to see you here. Oh, no way! Unbelievable. Stan, I can't believe that. All right, we'll have to talk. I want to hear your story about your wing, too. All right. Have a great day. Mwah.